The only one I ever shot here, right here, about 10, 12 years ago, the 57 millimeter. I shot it on my 220 yard range. The berm on the range is 30 feet thick, and the whole thing collapsed because of the shell. See how big the shell is? So John and I are going to give the tour. We got John over here, and he gives some, I give some, because you know it's a lot of talking, and we point out the highlights of everything, you know, from every war. But if there's anything you want to know that we don't mention, just raise your hand and we'll answer it. I want to get 100 vehicles. That's my goal. I need 8 more, and I have no room. Yep. But I only have one girlfriend. Okay, follow me.
Oh, wow!
This is Mel's D-Day display. D-Day, June 6, 1944. This is the day after, June 7th, 1944, with everything set up. And as we go through, you'll see all the hardware. One thing we like to talk about are the rifles. World War I was the American Forces rifle was the Springfield 1903, which is here, and this has a bayonet on it. Bolt action, which was the standard for all the forces then. But what we did was the War Department put out a request for a semi-automatic rifle. And what was finally ultimately accepted was the M1 Garand, which was created by John Garand. He was a Canadian, but the War Department, after a long, tedious competition, selected the M1 Garand rifle, if you know what it is. It is a 8-shot 30-06 in a N-block clip. So when people talk about clips all the time, you know they're wrong. This is a clip. This is the real clip. 8 rounds. The advantage to this, and the Germans, they were using bolt-action rifles. You open the action, put the clip in. As you push it, it closes. You got to get your thumb out of there. If you ever heard of grand thumb, they say if you haven't had grand thumb yet, you will. I haven't had it yet. I own one. But the advantage of this rifle was 8 semi-automatic rounds could be fired. Again, boom, 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 boom. While the Germans are working their bolt action, John Garand's invention, as General George Patton said, the greatest battle implement ever devised. After the 8th shot, you had an empty clip. The rifle was designed to eject this, and the world famous ping, they say that the enemy knew, hey, they're out of ammo, let's shoot them. And I read that in reality, in the heat of battle, they didn't really hear that. And I see some agreements. But it's neat to hear that. When you're on a rifle range, everybody will stop. So again, these rifles, and there was also the M1 carbine, 30 caliber, smaller. The M1 Garand was too big for the tanks, for the paratroopers. So they came out with this, I believe it was 1943. And this is very popular as well. Both are available for purchase online. Civilian Marksmanship Program sells these, normally the Garands, but you can't own them. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to John here.
All right, a couple things I'd like to point out to you. You know, we always talk about the Germans having these great tanks and everything, the Tiger tanks, and at the end of the war they had the jet-powered aircraft. They had the V-1 and V-2 buzz bombs, which were effectively just small ballistic missiles at a time. But the American soldier did have some advantages on the battlefield. The M1 Garand was one. They also had, let me point this out to you. They also had that thing right there. That box right there, that radio was called a walkie-talkie back in the day. Okay, seriously, that was a walkie-talkie. This thing was called a handy-talkie. Okay, and this pretty high-tech stuff. The Germans and the Japanese had no equivalent for these two field radios that our troops had. And just to show you how high-tech this was, there are 5 vacuum tubes inside this little box. Okay, so that was pretty high-tech back in the day. But I like to just point that out because the American soldier did have some advantages on the battlefield as we know it today. All right, we're going to start moving forward now, and I want you to take a look. As Mike said, this is the D-Day +1 display. There's machine gun bunkers set up, 30 caliber machine gun there, a couple of 50 cals in the back, 81 millimeter mortar right here. The soldiers' pup tents. We've got a station set up in the back corner there. That's like a medical station, medical supplies in it. You'll see more of that later. And then we have cooking station set up there, some communications devices, and come on down. By the way, there are 500 World War II era burlap sandbags in this display. Okay, Mel does not deal in reproductions of stuff. If it ain't the real stuff, it ain't the real deal, he does not want it in his museum. So the things that you see here are real. Okay, and they are not made in Japan last week. Okay, I like to point out for you folks that as you come by, take a look in this corner over here. There's a World War II era field toilet over here. Luckily, it wasn't used, so it's surplus, but so we don't have to deal with the smell. But just an example of some of the things that Mel gets. He gets what he can acquire and he can afford, rather than. Said that they found this in one of his palaces in his bedroom on the floor next to his bed. So although I cannot tell you that Saddam Hussein actually held his sword in his hands, because we try not to tell you any lies here at Dragonman. If I don't know, and I'll tell you that. But I will ask you this: how much stuff is in your house, in your bedroom, on the floor next to your bed that you've never touched? So I'll leave it at that. There's also a half track here. And we're going to let you all come up here and take a look inside, but let me kind of narrate this so you know what you're looking at. First of all, this half track is set up, and Mel deserves a lot of credit. By the way, when I say Mel, I'm talking about the Dragonman.
That reminds
So Mel
me of the
deserves a lot of
clay,
credit for putting together
the clay
It's pretty
Chinese
much exactly
guys.
the way it would have looked when it rolled off the LSTs on D-Day. It's pulling a trailer. That trailer is set up with ammo boxes. It would have been holding about 6,800 rounds of 50 caliber ammo. Most half tracks pull the trailer behind them anyway, whether it be or pull something behind it, whether it be a trailer, an artillery piece, or what have you. But when you get up here, I want you to take a look inside. The original radio is still in its enclosure here.
Millimeter, the 75 millimeter, and the 57 millimeter. The only one I ever shot here, right here, about 10, 12 years ago, the 57 millimeter. I shot it on my 220 yard range. The berm on the range is 30 feet thick, and the whole thing collapsed because of the shell. See how big the shell is? So I definitely can't fire these other ones until something big happens in town. So the 57 could really be fired like a bazooka on your shoulder. And these here are 75 millimeters, and these are all World War II, except the 106 millimeter, which was made and designed in 1950 for Korea. And these were normally hauled around on the M38A1 Jeep. Here's a picture of it, which I have on the other side of the museum. And I'll give you a fast lesson how a recoilless rifle works. You open up the breech block in the back, you put the shell in, look at the size of the shell, that's 106 millimeter. You lock the breech block. When you fire it, all the gas from the powder is going to come out of those perforated holes and go through the breech block because it's got 4-inch slots all the way around. And of course, the shell goes through the barrel. And it all happens so fast at the same time that there's no recoil. So they nicknamed it the recoilless rifle. It's really a 106 millimeter cannon. A gun like this, anything bigger than a 50 caliber diameter is registered as a destructive device. So to get a weapon like this in your name, you have to apply first to the sheriff's department. He checks your record. If he signs the 3 feet of paperwork with your picture and your fingerprint card, then it goes to Washington. That takes 10 months to get approved, if you could get approved. It's very hard to get anything approved after that 9/11 for a citizen if they don't have a real good reason why they want to own it. Anybody have any questions? Here, come on in. Hitler's waiting. Called the MG42. See those 8 millimeter bullets? It fires 12 to 1,300 a minute. That was like the World War II minigun. The ammunition you see hanging there, and all the ammunition here, was packed 1938. See the date? See, 1938. That's why World War I and World War II stuff is so collectible. Every country dated 99% of everything. They stopped doing that during Korea. So anyway, I hate to say it, but the Germans were way ahead of everybody. They had the fastest shooting machine gun. They had the Bismarck, the biggest battleship. They had the Tiger tanks. They had the V-1, the V-2 flying bomb. But they had Hitler, and he wanted to take over too fast. In 1942, he sent 3 million soldiers to try to take over Russia. 1 million to Stalingrad, 1 million to Leningrad, and 1 million to Moscow. And 1942 was the coldest winter on record, 36 below zero. And the soldiers weren't prepared for that. And he lost 1.5 million of his men. And right there he lost the war because he's running out of soldiers. He started with a little over 6 million soldiers. And luckily he lost the war because this would have been a whole different world, and we all probably won't even be here. Yeah. So let's move down. I'll point out some highlight things here. Look at all the different uniforms they had. This is the artillery sergeant, the Panther, that's a tanker. This is the Luftwaffe, that's the Air Force. This is the infantry uniform, the camouflage uniform, and the general. And these are called Kaiser helmets. Yeah, let me show you this. Yeah, look how small the heads were. You know, people were a lot smaller back then. There was no fast food, especially World War I. Almost every uniform mannequin in my World War I room, I had to put on my jigsaw to make the uniform fit. Yeah, yeah. A helmet like this, give you an idea. It's $2,500 to $3,500. That's what they go for. Yeah, this is over 100 years old. All these Kaiser helmets. See that? Here's all the canteens that they used over there. There, you move down a little bit. I have every Maltese cross from 1914 to 1945 right over here. This is called a political uniform, just like Hitler used to wear in 1933. See, we have a picture of Hitler wearing a uniform just like that, called a political uniform. 20 years ago, I paid $6,000 for that. It's made in Berlin. In fact, 75% of all these uniforms were made in Berlin. (1945), 3 days later, Nagasaki. 5 days later, August 14th, they surrendered to America. The final surrender was on a Missouri battleship, September 2nd, with General MacArthur. Here he is here, General MacArthur. That was ever given a 6 stars. All the other generals are always 5 stars, the most they got. So, okay, and see this patch here? That's the first U.S. government issued aviation patch. Back then, you know, they had the double-winged airplanes. Yeah, that's very, very rare, that patch. Just want to point that out. Okay, over here, this is Lieutenant Jim Butler's uniform. What makes him special, here's a picture of Jim Butler in his Foot Locker wearing this uniform 101 years ago. I bought this whole Foot Locker from a family in Pennsylvania. And they told me when Jim Butler passed away about 50, 60 years ago, this is the way he folded his clothes and put them away. I never unfolded them either. Okay, over here, this is a picture of Captain Smith. See, we got 2 pictures of him, and that's his uniform. And right in back here, this is the way his horse would have been set up in Europe, in France. See, and of course there was no starter motor, you have to crank it. They didn't have any juice brakes. They had mechanical brakes. In the back here, the brake shoe would squeeze the brake drum instead of expanding. They didn't invent the fuel pump yet, so all the gas tanks had to be higher than the carburetor. That's called gravity feed. And they had lanterns, see, for the headlights and taillights. I got this from very, very scary. And there's no steering wheel in here. It's got arms, you know, like a bulldozer. And when you pull the arm, the back turns left to right. And
Russian
if you pull the arm
T-48.
too much, it swings around. So it's very scary. It's got a 12-cylinder diesel motor, 6-speed manual transmission. All the lights work. It's got a 100-millimeter gun, and it's a lot of fun to drive around. In fact, here's pictures of me driving.
What we do here is go back.
Ready? Seven seconds.
Yeah, see, I told you guys really fast. Yeah.
Ready?